Okay, hey, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Drag Racing Live, where we bench race with the world's top drag racers. I'm Bill Pratt. John Bachman won't be with us tonight. He's visiting family, so I'm going to be the sole representative from our team. But tonight we welcome Butch Hill, a driving force behind Nostalgia Drag Racing League and one of the key figures in helping to keep Nostalgia Drag Racing alive and growing. Butch joins us to talk about the league's momentum, the racers and classes that define it, and what fans can expect as nostalgia drag racing continues to surge in popularity. So, Butch Hill, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks, Bill, for having me on.
So great to have you on. Oh my gosh, let's talk about the background there. You got a couple of amazing cars in the garage. Walk us through those machines.
Oh, let's see. Well, the one right behind me, that's a 39 Ford with 500 cubic inch big block Chevy. It's got an old Crowler injection system on it. Actually, back when I put this on here, it was the first car in the country to actually convert to EFI. So I don't
Wow.
know if you look kind of right down here, you can kind of see the fuel rails. And so it's based on, this was done in the early 80s. And it was based on a company that I used to work for. Now you know them as Fast, but back then it was called Speed Pro. And the
Uh-huh.
very first computer for the aftermarket is in this car right here. And this is a pretty fun car. It's a mild motor, 11 2 to 1, runs fastest it's ever run is a 973. It's a pretty cool car. The one in the back over there, that was a spare body to my race car, my Studebaker race car. That's a 53 Studebaker. And I had it just sitting around for a spare body. And I ended up throwing a motor in it and tranny and putting a little paint job on it recently. And I dedicated that car to my dad, World War II. And that's the ship number he was on that back in his battleship back in the day. And there's a lot of other little things that are all over the car that are pretty cool to look at.
Awesome. Yeah, the
So
Navy flag
that's
on
what's
the
here, and
hood.
about 10 feet over the other way is my actual race car, Studebaker race car.
Well, tell us a little bit about that machine. What do you run that in, and what's in the under the hood?
Well, it's a 53 Studebaker. It's all steel. Um, it's it's been in my family since 1961. It's actually in 64 it became a race car with a Hemi, and it's got an early first gen Hemi. Used to have an iron motor. Now it's got a Donovan motor. It's had a Donovan motor for well over 25 years, and supercharged and Hillborn injected. I run it in NDRL back up in time. I used to run it in the Good Guys events
Hmm.
and other organizations before NDRL. And it was in the B gas class. They had basically an 850 class, and every car had to qualify for 850. And so the car was set up for that. I run it today in Pro Gas and NDRL, and it runs in that class and it runs in the 850 index. It can run 8 seconds, but I usually just slow it down a little bit to the 850. It's not that competitive. I do it for fun, but it's not competitive because I don't run a button on the transmission. It's a foot brake car, and when you're racing against NDRL guys with a button, you're in trouble if you ain't good at it. So
Yeah.
it's just fun. We have a good time. My daughter loves it. My kids, both my son and my daughter, we have a good time when we go to the track. So that's what's the 53, and it's actually that picture right under your NDRL logo there. That's looking at you. You
Awesome.
can see the Studebaker right there with the purple blue flames.
Perfect. Well, John isn't with us, but his poster is, and so
Yeah, he does a good job at those.
he's pretty awesome. Well, let's Butch, nostalgia of drag racing's been, gaining serious momentum again. It's actually, I guess we've been doing it about 25 years now, or a little more maybe. But the NDRL is right in the middle of it. What's driving that growth right now?
You know, me personally, I don't think it has ever slowed down. Um, I look at the demographics, and I don't think it's changed. I think what has happened is the demographics that has been racing all these years, what we call nostalgia drag racing. I mean, every year it's always going to be nostalgia drag racing. In 1980, they had nostalgia drag racing. And the moral of the story is I think generations are taking the helm and taking the car and moving it forward. I mean, we definitely see it in NDRL. We see cars being passed down through generations and continue to race, or it might not even be the car, just the father or the grandfather was a racer, and it just continues to go on. So, from my perspective, I don't think it's ever slowed down, and I don't see it slowing down. So I think it's just continuing to move forward, and the nostalgia type of cars aren't going anywhere in my book.
That's great. I know it's kind of funny. When I was in high school, we're way back in the 70s here when I was racing, we had 55 Chevys, 57 Chevys, and we thought we had nostalgia, but I was 20 years old. If you can look back
Yeah,
20 years right now to what we were driving around the street, it's hardly nostalgia. But for those kids who were around then, I guess it is. So it was kind of funny, NDRL, a big part of your name is obviously the word nostalgia, but man, we have to kind of stretch our minds to figure out what nostalgia means these days.
I agree with that. Totally agree with that. You're right. I mean, think about it. In 1980, some of the cars that I seen racing weren't that old, but you're right. They were called nostalgia drags. And
Hmm.
so that's where I say it hasn't slowed down in my opinion. It's got some momentum under it, and it just continues to go forward.
No, it's great. It's my favorite kind of racing, though. I've been just so many friends over so many years in so many categories, right, that race these things. And
Yeah,
what's
absolutely.
from your perspective as an organizer, let's take you to the adrenaline question. Wouldn't been the most exciting or rewarding moment you've seen at an NDRL event so far?
Wow, that's a tough question. There is a lot of I tell you, when it gets down to the finals, I'll take it. I'll take it there at every race, not just a race. Because it's been so many times I've seen this. You get down to the finals, and you got the final classes, and I mean it is so tight racing in NDRL, and that somebody's winning by a thousandth of a second. And usually it's also at the end of the year, it's down to one last race to crown a champion. But just like crowning a champion throughout every race, it it is very close competition racing. So it's exciting if you stick around, and a lot of people do, and watch how competitive this whole race program is. It's pretty cool. Um, it's makes for great racing. I mean, it's hard to beat. Hard to beat it. I mean, I would just say it's amazing. You got to attend one.
Well, I think I have, and I didn't know it because you were talking before I came on. You actually f provide many of the cars for like the National Hot Rod Reunion, right?
Yeah, if you go to which is our second race, and we'll talk about that, I guess, at some point. But
You bet.
the NHRA Hot Rod Reunion is held in Beach Bend, down in Bowling Green, Kentucky, and it's a great event. It's probably our Super Bowl of events, and NHRA, over the years, we have become obviously friends with them, and they reach out to NDRL to fill pretty much all the fields except for the fuel cars and the cackle cars, things like that. But all the other classes, they use NDRL's rules, and they use their classes. So there's probably only one other class that isn't NDRL's, and it isn't anybody's. It's just a hot rod class that kind of throws whoever doesn't fit a class, it throws them in so they can race. But yeah, when you go to that event, you're seeing basically 80%. You're seeing an NDRL event.
Wow, amazing. And always hard running, great looking cars, always really well presented. Um, and yeah, that's really interesting because I always assumed that these guys were just showing up there because they wanted to be at the National Hot Rod Reunion, which is a cool event for sure. But having done a little bit of very poor race promotion in the past, I was really amazed at the turnout, and I don't feel quite as bad knowing that we got professionals there lining them up and and getting the show on the road.
Yeah.
Well, as you run these rates, I'm always looking for like a weird story or the craziest thing that's ever happened. Is there anything that comes to mind on or off the track that you've had at some of your events with some of the cars?
I mean, there's always, crazy incidents. There's always something going on, a transmission falls out of this car or whatever. And not literally, but pieces, or something. And that happens. I don't care where you're racing. Something's going to break, rear end brake,
Hmm.
drive shaft, whatever. But ironically, in NDRL, we don't have much of that damage. I mean, the cars and the quality of the guys running it's nice stuff. But I would say time and time again, we get new racers, and after racing with NDRL, they're amazed at the friendly family atmosphere. And that, I guess, is the craziest thing. Crazy for me because I basically have grown up in nostalgia drag racing. You know, I guess it's crazy because I hear through the grapevine that, how you don't see that friendly family atmosphere at a lot of other events,
Hmm.
whatever types they are. But I hear it from other racers when they come from those events and then come race with NDRL. They're just like, I'm just amazed. I don't, this is just a great, everybody's very willing to help the next racer that's parked right next to them. I can tell you from time to time, many times, that we've had guys that something's happened to their car and other NDRL racers rally around this guy, don't even know him, and put his car back together or borrow parts, put a transmission in, whatever it might be, and make him get there, make him be able to race the event, not watch him pack up and go home. So that happens all the time. So that's pretty crazy when if you really are there and you feel that warmth, you feel the welcomeness from all the racers, and the crazy part to me is you don't get that from other organizations that are doing however they're handling their events, and I don't understand that. But
Hmm.
we're just happy it works for us.
Well, that's great. A great family program and the family of drag racing that we all get to enjoy. Everybody's pals at some level for sure.
Yeah,
Well, let's take it down to actually and right behind me are all the events, and along the bottom of John's poster is all the categories. But for fans who may not be familiar yet with the NDRL, give us an overview of your classes, cars, and the racers people can expect to see at your events.
yeah, absolutely. So we've got 7 classes, and 6 of those classes are quarter mile classes. And I'll start with those classes first. Our fastest class, quarter mile, is Pro 7.0. And so 7 seconds in a quarter mile. Those are front engine dragsters, altereds, funny cars, door slammers, anything that can go 7 seconds. And we have another class that's just the same kind of vehicles, but it's Pro 7.5. So they're going 7.5 seconds. And so that's our 2 fastest classes. And then we start going into a class. We got 2 classes that go 8 seconds to 11 seconds every half second index. So
Hmm.
you got to pick 8, 850, 9, 950, 10, 1050, 11. And that is Pro Comp. Pro Comp is a class that we have, and that's front engine dragsters, alters, and roadsters, things like that, center steer cars, left steer cars. So those kinds of cars that go into Pro Comp. Pro Gas, all like I said, all the same time, same half-second increments, and they are basically cars with doors. So they look more like a Chevelle or a Camaro or a Mustang or whatever, and got to have working doors. So that's the Pro Gas class. And then we have a modified production class. So that's, must be a manual shifting car. So they go from 8.5 seconds to 12 seconds, and that's every quarter second index that they can dial in.
Hmm.
And very competitive class. And I mean, it's high winding. I mean, these guys are banging the gears all the way down the track, and it's competitive. amazingly competitive. And then, matter of fact, I talked about pro gas. A lot of times we have at the end of the finals, after each race is over, we usually have a pro gas and a modified production car kind of do an extra little run against each other to see who's king of the track. And I tell you right now, modified production guys have been whipping up on the pro gas guys,
Hmm.
and so it's pretty fun. So that's a neat class, and it's growing every year. And we also have NSS or Nostalgia Superstock. So it's 8.5 seconds starting, and it goes every quarter second up to 13 seconds index. And another extreme popular class. The pro gas class and the NSS class, they're getting anywhere from 45 to 65 cars in the class.
Wow.
And so modified productions in the low 20s, mid 20s, something like that. I should have probably told you about Pro 7.0 and Pro 7.5 as well. And those they're getting into the teens, 15 cars, somewhere around there in each class, give or take. Depends on where you're at and what's going on, who broke, who's not broke. And then our last class, which now we're going to switch into eighth mile racing, is what we call NG, which is nostalgia gasser. So it must be a straight axle car. And we run 520 in the eighth mile to 870 every tenth of a second. You can
Hmm.
dial in every tenth, and that's the lineup of each of those classes. In fact, Nostalgia Gasser is new. It's a new class we added for the 26th season, and so that class is going to be, we're just a few weeks away from our opener, and so that's taken off here, and we're looking forward to seeing what that's going to be like. We've had a straight axle mafia used to run at a lot of our events, and they've always been good to NDRL, and we've had a great working relationship with them. And but it was just time for NDRL to have their own class. It's going to be a lot of the same cars, and we'll probably gain some more. And the big difference is when we're racing all these other classes, and we have sponsors that are doing number one, qualifier for each class, and there's a perk to winning that, or all these advantages of winning stuff. When we had the straight axle guys in our program, they didn't have a chance to go after any of those type of winnings. So that's really the only reason we did it. Those guys wanted to go after, getting a chance to get some of these prizes and monies, etc. So now we just call it NG, the Nostalgia Gasser class. So we're excited. We've got a lot of momentum going on with that, and we're looking forward to what's going to happen coming up here in just a couple weeks. So that's our
Right.
first race. That's the 7 classes.
That's amazing. Well, oh my gosh, what an action-packed show that must be. You must
That, that
bring about
brings
100
about
cars, right?
no, it brings about 200 cars.
About 200 cars. Yeah, I meant to say hundreds because I was quickly doing the math, but that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just 100 cars between two classes, NSS and Pro Gas, that'll bring 100 cars easy. And if you start throwing all the numbers down, we're hovering right in the 200 range, and of course that fluctuates at each track and each demographic area. But there's averages, and we've got all the documents on the averages and what'll probably show up at each race.
Hmm.
Of course, with what's going on with the war in the world right now, and the gas prices,
Yeah.
I really suspect that we'll be down 15% on cars, maybe even 17%.
Hmm.
Uh, I think we'll be down for a little bit until that changes, but it'll still be a great turnout, and we're always trying to find different ways and to make it right. And one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is, and maybe I can touch on this now or later, it doesn't
Sure.
matter, but I'll just keep talking. Um, NDRL is a 501c nonprofit, and we're all volunteers, and we're just making it to where we have a place to race and all that good stuff. And this really is like a full-time job, running this whole program. And we've got a lot of great people that help put it together. But the kicker is we don't take the monies at the track. We let the track take the monies and let the track do the payouts. And the reason we do that is we want the track to be successful in the program that we bring them. We want them to make a profit. We want to have a place to race in the future. We want to make sure that they're going to still be around so we can book another race in the next year and the year after and so forth. So we survive by our sponsors and our advertising and marketing their brands. That's how we survive and get to go to PRI shows and things like that. But when it comes to the payouts and price to race and all that kind of stuff, it's really the tracks taking care of that and doing all that for us, and it's a great working relationship. So I like the model. It keeps us in a strong position.
That's fascinating. I was considering that way back in the day when I was dabbling in it with some partners back in the early 2000s. And so when you mentioned that the track takes care of it, do the tracks establish the payouts? Do you recommend what those should
We,
be,
re-
or how
we
does that work?
yeah, we recommend the payouts. We got a sheet for the payouts and all that kind of stuff. And we even have it if a certain amount of cars don't show up, the payouts change. And that's only rightly so. And
Mhm.
and it's all so I look at it financially. I look at it like if I owned the track and if this was what we needed to make it run and we needed the payouts to get the people to come, the racers, etc. Uh, you know, we look at that extremely strongly, and we try to make it right for everybody. And so the track pretty much, I would say 90, pretty much, they just follow what we recommend.
Mhm.
And because we have a great working relationship with them, it works out well. And if something doesn't work out well, we've got clauses in our write-ups together that help them out. And NDRL gets the little small siphon, for bringing the show to them. But if something's not working out, we forgo that siphon,
Mhm.
and just because we want it to be right for the track itself.
Well, it's really great. It's a really, really interesting way of doing it, and I can just sense that having done this for many, many years, or at least been around it while it was done, you really have a businessman's head for doing this, but not with a kind of that for-profit, going to make money at any kind of K. Uh, you know,
Yeah, and the for profit can get you in trouble, and it has with other organizations. And what I mean by that is longevity and being around for the future. And I think this is set up at a very a great way for this to completely just continue to last and keep going forward. So it doesn't put us at a high risk, and we can do as much as we can with the sponsorship that we get, and we've got a pretty good working relationship with all kinds of brands that we race with, and we promote them as best we can, and that's why they keep coming back.
sounds great. Yeah, between all those cars, you certainly have something that somebody manufactures that one of those race cars will use, or even folks can use on the way to the track, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We even have a one sponsor. They build houses.
Yeah,
They don't build cars. They don't make a car part. They build houses, but they're also a racer, and they
right.
like the program so well. They're like, "Hey, we're going to sponsor you."
I love it.
So we sponsor their brand for building houses, but I don't think most people even get it. I mean, like, why are these people involved? They're up in Maine and Bowerly, and they're an awesome company, and they got an awesome comp car. It's actually an 8 second dragster. It's just beautiful, and
Hmm.
they come race a couple events with us, usually one or maybe two a year with us, and it's pretty cool. This year, by the way, we have gone to 7 races. Normally, we're a 6 race program,
Hmm.
but we threw a seventh one in there because for the points, you can actually the computer system that we have and all that will throw out your worst race, and then it'll mix it up a little bit, so it'll pick your six best races in points.
Oh,
And so we're doing that for the first time this year, doing seven races, and so that's pretty cool. And so we're excited about that.
that's exciting. Did you guys put that to a vote at your annual meeting, or how do you guys determine the rule structure and the classes and stuff?
Yeah, we've got a board, and we've got well, when I became president, which was about 4.5 years ago, 4 years ago, or something like that, and I was vice president before that, and then Troy Wilson was the first president for about 10 years. NDRL's maybe 9 years, something like that. NDRL is 15 years old. Matter of fact, last weekend, and so then after Troy Wilson was president, then Dave Mullen became president, and I became the vice president to him. And then he went a year and a half, I think, and then I became the president, and Bob Eaker is the vice president. So how do we do it? We have so when I started as the presidency. I decided to put basically each class a class representative, so a
Okay.
director for each class. And I want that, and he's got to be a racer in that class. And he's got to understand what those racers need and what those racers would like to have and bring it to the table, let us know what that class is looking for and what they're doing. But to answer your question, we've got a board, and we basically have take votes and talk about things. Usually it's a Zoom call I was doing it every month in the winter, and every week during the summer. And we basically try to do it in a 40-minute deal. We just never could do that. It's always been hour and a half, 2 hour board
Can't get
meeting and
racers.
so on. But
Yeah.
it's awesome. And we have over the time, we had a race director, and that was there for the longest time, Jason Becker. And then he took a retirement on that, and then we added a race director, Art Millett, and he did it for a few years. And now we got Mark Messamore, and he's backed up with a guy named Tony Gano. And then we have now a tech director, Ron Bailey, who was a racer as well. And all
Mhm.
these guys have to take the NHRA basically classes and rules, and they got to understand, they got to pass and become a tech guy. I don't care if you're a director, you still got to be a tech guy. And we make them, get certified and all that good stuff. So, and we follow NHRA rules basically, when it comes to the safety side of things.
Mhm.
But when it comes to the rules for each class and all that, that's what has happened, or how we've put it together over time, is with that that race director and all the other racers chiming in, and everybody working together. And
That's great.
so it's a pretty nice farm. And those race we have a pecking order, if you will. If you're running in pro comp and you got something you want to ask, or you need an issue, something, whatever it is, you should go see your race director. He's probably pitted right next to you,
Hmm.
and run it up the flagpole, if you will. And then, um, we're on it. We're right away. We have great drivers meetings during the event, and we go over all the details, what's going on. The track's usually involved with that, with us, and we talk about the run order, and there's a strategic way we run the cars, and
Hmm.
why modified production is positioned at a certain you know position in the lineup. And it's because they're when you got a stick car, they're eating up the starting line a little bit, so it gives them time to prep the track and fix it for the next car out and stuff like that, the next class out. So yeah, it's there's a lot going on, and a lot. I mean, it's like a full blown deal. It is a full blown
Hmm.
deal.
Well, really impressive, and obviously comes from a lot of pure, hard-earned experience as you've done this over the years.
Yeah,
Yes. Well, I'd love, we got all the events up behind us, and you mentioned the tracks. Do you want to walk through where some of the
Sure.
tracks are going to be and what the 2026 lineup looks like?
Yeah, I'd love to. Our first race is in May 22nd and 23rd. That's Friday, Saturday. And most of the time, we try to pick a Friday, Saturday event somewhere. And why do we do that? We try to do that because if something's gone wrong, meaning weather, etc., during the races, we've got Sunday to make it up.
Right.
So it just doesn't, put us out in the wind, if you will. So, but May 22nd and 23rd is going to be at the Worldwide Technology Raceway in St. Louis, and that's the Route 66 Rockabilly reunion. It's we've done that several years. We used to do it early in May, and we always seem to get bad weather early in May in St. Louis. So now we moved it for the last couple of years um, to later in May, and so far we've been pretty successful. And that race is sponsored by a company right in St. Louis called Schaefer Specialized Lubricants, Schaefer Oil, and they have amazing product. They're well over 100 years old company, and they sponsor that race. They actually sponsor four of our races, and so that's the May lineup. June we do the NHRA Hot Rod Reunion,
Hmm.
and that's in Beach Bend, Bowling Green, Kentucky, and that's like I said, that's kind of our Super Bowl of races, only because of the NHRA's involved, if you will, with us, and we're involved with NHRA, I should say, and it's a big deal, and so Beach Bend. A lot of people will sign up right after the first race. They're waiting to make sure their car's still running, and then Beach Bend will get bombarded with registration, and that's good. So and Brock, the track owner over there, he's amazing guy. Does a great job. And matter of fact, this year is his first year of running the event for NHRA. It used to
Wow.
be NHRA came in, ran the event, just rented his track. Now it's him running it for NHRA, and then with the help of NDRL, etc. So that's pretty exciting. And then we go from there to the NDRL Hot Rod Nationals at Indianapolis at Lucas Oil Raceway Park, and that is one of our bigger races, and that's a Ray Skillman, who's
Hmm.
actually a drag racer. They got a lot of pro stocks and stuff, and they got a lot of dealerships in Indianapolis, and it's that one sponsored by Ray Skillman. We're also going to have a pro street car show on the opposite side of the track, and it's the first time we're doing that. And we're hooked up with some guys that are pro street. Kind of everybody follows these couple guys in pro street,
Hmm.
and so we're trying to work that out. There's also during that event, there's another good guys event for the pro street side, northeast of there, which I think might play. So I think guys might go to each one. Uh,
Hmm.
but I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. It's we're just kind of throwing that in as a something different there. But we'll have also, by the way, at Indy and in at St. Louis, we've got another organization that is going to race with us that we've talked to, and they needed some places to race, and they fit our program, and it's a small tire pro stock.
Okay.
So these guys are fast cars in the mid sevens, and they're going to be joining us at basically our first race coming up in May, and they'll be joining us at Indy as well. Then after Indy, that's July 10th and 11th, by the way, for Indy. And I don't know if I told you the dates for the June race. The June is 18 and 20.
Hmm.
Um, so now we're going to go to the next race, which is July 31st, August 1st, and that is at Byron Dragway. And it's the first time that we have actually going to do an event in conjunction with Funny Car Chaos.
Oh, wow.
Funny
What a
Car
show.
Chaos, Chris that runs that program, and he and I have been trying to get a track, a schedule, a race together somewhere somehow. He brings 25, funny cars,
Hmm.
and then you put our 7 classes together, you've got a full program.
You bet. I'd
So
pay for that.
yeah, that's going to be on July 31st, August 1st at Byron Dragway. And then we go to Killcare. Um, that's a Durana raceway. And of course, everybody knows Durana, that the being buying up racetracks everywhere.
Hmm.
And so that's August 21st, 22nd. And that's the NDRL Nostalgia Drags at that event in Killcare. So we're looking forward to that one. Then we go to the old National Trail on
Wow.
September 11th and 12th, another Durana raceway. And that's on September 11th to 12th. And we had a good event there last year. They liked it so much, they said, hey, let's bring it back again this year. So
Nice.
we rebooked it literally while we were there. And then we do our fall final, our wrap up for the season, our big, we'll call it not a banquet, but we have a big food banquet at the end of the race. And that's October 17th and 18th back at Bowling Green
Okay.
at, that, and it's always good. It's called the Fall Classic. And lots going on there. So all those classes will be there. We got, like I said, we couldn't do this without all of our sponsors either.
Well,
So
it's really great. What an amazing year. I hope there are lots of photogs that attend and send a couple notes because I would love to cover these races as you have them.
absolutely, and that's something that NDRL doesn't have as a their own photographer. We work with all the photographers that come
Hmm.
to these events and want to photograph these events that are kind of got a name, if you will, and they just reach out to us, and we make sure they're there, and we promote them, they promote us, and share the great photographs that they take with us. And we don't have a track photographer, and I haven't seen a need for that. What I have seen a need for, and I haven't done it yet, is a full time, or at least not full time, but I mean an event time videographer.
Right.
'Cause, one thing I just don't get is a lot of video that I can use for promotions and use for social media and stuff like that. A lot of still stuff, love it. But, you know, if you know anybody, not you, but anybody out there,
Yeah.
and that's good at video and want to be a part of the NDRL, hey, we could use your help. And so you get the same pay as we all get. And anyway, it's all fun.
Same pay I pay all of my photographers, which is about that much. And I get them into the events though.
Yeah, we'll get them in the events. We'll take care of them on that kind of stuff and make sure they got everything they need. So absolutely, we do that.
Really amazing, amazing work. Well, how did you kind of get into the role? How did you get involved in drag racing and what led you to take on this leadership role?
You know, I would say racing was in my DNA, I guess. I guess you could say that. My dad started racing right after the Second World War. We always had he was always driving some cool car, some kind of hot rod, and him and my dad and his dad raced all around the country. And back in the day, they didn't race drag racing. They raced in NHRA, but it
Hmm.
wasn't just drag racing like it is today. It was they were racing circle track, so they were racing back with Ed Iskandarians, those guys, and Edelbrock, and all the brands that you know for history. My dad and his brother were racing with them back then, and I got a lot of great clippings, and documents that I have of prior to me, obviously, and of my dad going out west, and the Hill boys are coming out there, last name Hill. The Hill
Hmm.
boys are coming out west to see if they can what they can do, and by the time they leave, they put a little whoop ass on these guys, and it was pretty fun to read these articles. And so deep down, I guess I got a little that DNA in it. By the time I got involved, circle track stuff was getting more expensive to run, very expensive to run. And so, ended up my cousin and I, and we got the Studebaker stuff going on here in my family. And I told you that the car that I race has been in the family since 1961. And
Right.
my dad and his brother made that thing in 1964. And that was the only drag car that they made, and that's the one I'm still running today. In fact, it still has the ladder bar car, and it still
Wow.
has the same ladder bars from 1964 on the car. But because of that, I think that's what kind of in hanging around cars growing up, you know, I think that's what's kind of got me into it. So, back in the 70s, my cousin and I always headed to a drag strip when
Hmm.
we could. And I can remember many a times on this car right here, even back in 79 or 80, sitting, our butts sitting on these fenders and our feet sitting on guardrails and watching cars go by us, and we're sitting
Hmm.
half track or something like that. And this car's come a long way since that. But the moral of the story is it's just kind of been in my makeup. So that's all I can think of. And all my friends, everybody was always involved in it. So
I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, we go back about the same era there. We used to watch some great races back then, did a little dabbling, and then I came out and talked about it. But then
yeah,
I went first I did the Navy like your dad. I was a sailor for a couple of years, came out and started doing IT in DC, and the one
cool.
thing led to another, and I announced at Budds Creek, but I never did get back behind the wheel. Just talked about him. So
I didn't know you were a Navy guy, and that's what that Studebaker there is attributed to. My dad was a Navy guy, and that's his ship number. I don't know if I said that, but
yeah,
that's
very
his
cool.
Navy ship number on the side of that.
That's very cool. I have to get a card and throw CVN 68 on it there. Trying
Yeah,
to tell.
exactly.
So cool. Well, if we talked a little bit about putting the organization together, but from your standpoint, from an organizer standpoint, what's the biggest challenge in putting together a successful nostalgia drag racing event today?
You know, making the money right for the tracks. That's probably the
Hmm.
biggest challenge because the racers want more and more and more, but they don't understand how much we got to pay out for all the
Right.
classes, and not only just the winner, everybody behind it, eight levels down,
Right.
and then putting all those numbers together, that's always a big challenge. I think if we can always keep that the money's right. When I say that, the payouts,
Hmm.
the number of cars coming to cover those payouts, that's the key to success, in my opinion. Those two factors have to fit. If they don't, it'll die on the vine eventually. And it doesn't take. That's one reason why we're not renting the track
Hmm.
and then doing the payouts. Okay, well, if we got to rent the track, put those numbers into the program, it just starts changing all the equations.
Right.
And keep in mind, our NDRL goal is to make sure that the track is around for the future for us to race. And we want them to win, be successful, make a profit, like our program, enjoy our program, and we're 100% in. And so that's the hardest part is making the
It
money
is.
back.
I love that angle, looking out for the tracks because, that way lies madness, trying to rent the tracks or depend on the gate, which silly tried to do a little bit for some nostalgia events, and folks were, come up to the payout window and there's, not as many fans in the stands as you thought there might be. And there's a lot of, I think everybody just wants fairness, and it sounds like you guys really have a handle on that. And
Yeah, and some tracks, um, they're not real concerned about. I don't understand this, but they're not too concerned about putting seats in the stands.
hmm,
They're more concerned about does the money work? With
right.
what we're doing with the racer side of it. That's a bonus putting people in the stands. And then their social media. I don't know what they're handling with all that, but I mean, but most of them would like to see a great grandstand. And you go to like I said, our Super Bowl one, the Hot Rod reunion, and it's packed.
Yeah.
And you go to several other ones, and it's packed. And then there might be one or two that are a little lighter, but
Hmm.
The tracks don't seem to have a big problem with that, you know?
Yeah, let me ask, speaking about that, I hadn't thought about asking this before, but I've put on many I announced and organized while I was there many events with special interest cars alongside the local bracket racers. How does that work with the tracks you're at? Do they bring in their own programs on those days, and then you have to kind of negotiate run times and stuff when where there are bracket cars where they may have several hundred of them trying to get down to a few? How does that work?
Early on, earlier on in NDRL's life, we were always just tagged in with exactly what you're explaining there. They had their regular bracket programs, and I'm not saying they still don't. Some of them they still do that, but NDRL has grown to the point where bringing nearly 200 cars or 200 plus cars, that'll fill a place up pretty good.
Hmm.
And so nowadays, it's basically NDRL will kind of run the schedule for the racing event. When I say that, we'll work with the track and say, here's how we'd like to run the event, and let's add the whatever other event that might be there at this time, and
Hmm.
so forth. So we're pretty much in the hands with the track, managing the best way to make this whole thing work. And so nowadays, like we got the small tire pro stock guys coming because we have room for on that track in St. Louis and Indy. We wouldn't have them a room for them at like Byron or Killcare or possibly even National Trail.
Right.
So in Beach Bend, we wouldn't have time for them or a space for them. So we strategically place them where that fits. And if there was another organization out there, I'm making one up, 409 Chevy organization or a Pontiac drag cars or whatever it is, and we welcome them to reach out to us and see where we could maybe fit them in to make the program look more complete.
Hmm.
And of course at that point they have to figure out how they're getting their sponsorships paying their
Right.
car, those racers, and all they got to figure all that kind of stuff out. But we might have in some cases, just like this example I'm using with the small tire pro stock guys, we got room to fit some of these strategically. But um, the long and short of it is we work well if the track says, "Hey, I want to run our regular bracket program with you." We work together, and we've never had a problem.
No, that sounds great. I've seen it, but you guys, like I say, I've been so impressed with how you have explained the way your program works. That's, transparency and honesty and making sure
Yeah,
everybody's fair, fairly treated and fairly paid, for those who get paid, unlike you. So it's probably it sounds like the way to go.
yeah,
Well, if
absolutely.
If anyone else is out here, crazy enough to think about trying to grow their own programs or events, what's one key lesson you've learned about building something that lasts? I think we've covered it from a number of different angles, but do you want to hit that one more time?
Yeah, listen to the racers and change as needed. Um, have a complete program that fits the market that you're in, that they're in, and promote it professionally. And I think if you listen to racers, you make any changes or you fit that program to fit those racers, and you do it all in a professional manner, you can be successful.
Awesome. Wise words. Let's do some shout outs. There's a lot of racers, sponsors, crew members, or anyone else, and certainly tons of sponsors that help make the NDRL successful. Got a couple names you'd like to drop tonight? Sounds like it would take us till midnight to do all the sponsors, but
Yeah, I think you might be right, but as I said, NDRL is a volunteer organization. I would say a shout out goes to all the folks that past and present that have helped in putting NDRL in the position it is today, right now. I mean, we are what you would call the premier nostalgia drag racing league for the country, not just in the Midwest where we are most. I can't tell you how many times daily the phone ring or weekly the phone rings about, hey, why don't you come to this part of the country or that part of the country, and they just don't understand, the undertaking that what that really takes.
Hmm.
But so all those folks, the people on the board, all the each class representative, down to the folks that work the NDRL trailer. We have a trailer where we sell all of our shirts and hats and cups and mugs and cups like this, all kinds of
Cool
things.
stuff.
You know, so definite shout out. I could list them all off, but it'd be more. I'd rather you go to the website, NDRL nostalgiadragleague.com. I'd rather you go there and check it out and take a look at the board, and you'll see everybody on there that is putting this program on today. And and you'll also see our schedule, and you'll see a lot of other cool stuff on there. And we do most of our communication through Facebook.
Okay.
So if you're really following NDRL, we've got several Facebook pages. Like we got an NS page, we've got a NSS page. I'm sorry, we've got a modified production page, we've got a nostalgia gasser page. But the mothership page, the Nostalgia Drag Racing League page, is the page that feeds all that, and that's the one you should be following if you have any interest in NDRL. And our major sponsor is Larice Motorsports Insurance.
Hmm.
They're our big sponsor, and we shout out to them all the time. And we've got a slew of other sponsors that are helping us out. We have a new NDRL trailer, vending trailer that'll be exposed uh, coming up with this new race. Everybody will get to see it, but Jason Deach Trailers helped us out on that tremendously. And I mean, the list just keeps going on. We got Sunoco, and we've got, we already mentioned Schaefer Oil and Power Masters. And I mean, I can't list them all. Summit, you name it. They're all on there. And look at our website and do this for me. If a racer and you're looking for a part, and we've got a sponsorship connected to, I'll just say Power Masters because I just said it a second ago. And if you're looking for an alternator or something or a starter from them, call them up. Tell them you're an NDRL racer or you're going to be racing with NDRL, and I'm sure they'll help you out and give you a little bit, maybe a little better on the pricing. It seems like all the folks that we do business with uh, take care of our NDRL racers. So check it out on the website, look that over, and make sure you utilize that. That's a tool that I don't think enough people ask the manufacturers and put down the NDRL brand. So that's put that in there. Mention that is what I mean.
Got it.
So that's
Well,
that's kind of the shout out.
that sounds great. Now, was that my next question too? Is where can they find you? So we've answered two in one, which was is very efficient and I'm very thankful. I'll check out the website. We'll also drop it into our comments, so folks can find it. And I'll go check out all those Facebook groups. We got a ton that we track and manage, and we'll go up there and see which ones align with some of the ones we have out there, and maybe do some cross promotion. Well, Butch has
Yeah,
been
absolutely.
it's been amazing. So, final thoughts as we'll let you go for the evening. As we wrap up, what are your final thoughts for the fans, and what should they be watching from the NDRL next?
You know what? I would say just come to an event and enjoy the atmosphere. I mean, you'll get hooked. And roam the pits, talk to the racers, hear their stories, see the generations that are racing together. The history is crazy. It's just you love to hear the stories, but you'll feel that family fun atmosphere. Uh, it's the way I say it. It's America at its best when it comes to
Mhm.
drag racing. NDRL, it's basically the way it should be done in America, and it's fun.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, Butch Hill of the NDRL. You got me excited, sir. I need to go out and see some of that. Have a wonderful 2026, and I look forward to following along.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
All right. Butch Hill, amazing. Let's say farewell. And let me go on with the rest of our show without my friend John Balkin, when we typically turn it over to John at this point. But let's jump into the events coming up and other good, cool things. Drag Racing Live is just blowing up on the YouTube, 741 subscribers, 130,000 views now. We're very excited about that. Please help us grow. Tell your friends about the channel, and we'll keep bringing you some cool shorts. We're putting up two a day now. Either our current guests, so Butch Hill will be you'll be seeing him starting tomorrow, and it will showcase him throughout the week, but also the guests we've already had on. If you notice out on the drag racing list Facebook page, you will see two per day, one at midnight, one at noon, and we some cool things with Butch Leal and Liz Leggett and other cool things putting up recently, and more to come because we got tons of shows to keep putting into shorts form and sending out there. By the way, thanks again to Sophia Roveda. Her time with us has ended, sadly, although we're going to stay in touch. And two really interesting young apprentices I'm interviewing now. We'll pick one and we'll get going, and I'll announce that pretty soon. Let's talk about upcoming guests, folks. May 18th, next Monday night, Elon Werner of Communications and the NHRA Bracket Bonanza program. Looking forward to talking to Elon. On the 25th, we're going to do Memorial Day, so there's no show. Hope you have a great day. June 1st, Steve King of Pilot Racing, a Pro Mod champ, and he also does a podcast with Jason Harris called Boosted Bullshit. So we'll talk about that. On the 8th of June, we still want to fill that date, but announcing this right now for the first time, Mendy Fry, our good friend, Nostalgia Top Fuel drag racer, will be joining us. And she's also star of the new Time Trials movie that she and Cole Coons have put together. Mendy Fry is coming to join us on the 15th. Really excited. 22nd of June is still open, and Jeff Atamian on the 29th, the Beast Jet Car is coming to visit with us. So let's go and talk about our lost friends, folks. Some real folks we've known and loved here to announce this week. On the 5th of May, we lost Terry Walters. He was a mountain motor pro stock racer. He raced the Walters and Hudson car many years. I've had many great conversations with Terry. Super guy, raced really tough against some of the best and baddest in the sport, but he was always right there, always at the Mountain Motor Nationals at Maryland International Raceway, tough on the IHRA circuit when they ran Mountain Motor Pro Stock. But it's just a super guy. Terry Walters, farewell, my friend, passing away on the 5th. Also on the 5th, Kyle Loftus, the gentleman who founded 1320 Video. Lots of love and condolences pouring in from all over the web. Farewell to Kyle Loftus. And another one very close to home on the 7th of May, we lost Rob Huckstadt, the founder and publisher of Nostalgia Drag World. Lots of our friends are in that magazine. Lots of our friends have written for that magazine, like Animal Jim Foyer has written many articles for Rob. Farewell to Rob. Really sorry to hear this. And I don't think in what an announcement I saw said that the we may have seen the last issue of that magazine. I'm not familiar. A lot of people have asked me whether or not I knew it was going to continue. I'm not sure. Same thing with 1320 Video as well with Kyle, although I think that was well, I just don't know, so I can't say. But again, farewell to Rob Huckstadt. And then finally, this from Joe Jackson, Nitro Joe Jackson. He says farewell to Beach Bend drag racer David Midget, who passed away on the 8th, a long-time drag racer there, well known. We mentioned Beach Bend tonight. So Terry Walters, Kyle Loftus, Rob Huckstadt, and David Midget, farewell, sirs. Condolences to your families and the friends, many friends. And I'm proud to have included some of you as my personal friend over the years. Um, with that, we're at our wrap, folks. We're taking it right to the 9 o'clock hour here tonight, missing my friend John, but I want to thank Butch Hill, who was awesome. I am so impressed by the NDRL, having dabbled in race promotion and execution over the years. They sound like they really have it going on. John Bachman, my friend, hope you're having a great weekend. Kate Turkelson, the fabulous Miss K, thank you. Sophia Roveda, thank you, my friend. Pete Moriello, Rob McCabe, David Oakes, Mel Bashore, Ron Toombs, and John Murnan II, who I was talking to just today. Dave Wislowski, and Jeff Gilder, who I've also spoken with recently with his Wingding TV. Special shout out to Nitro Alley, and thanks in heaven to Danny White, whose photo I'm not showing tonight, but you all know who he is. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment down below if there's some cool things you want to see. Let us know if there's something you especially liked about the show or something you'd like us to change. We're all ears. And please check in on draglist.com every day to see what's new. And you can find us on the Radio Bob Network as well. So, folks, I'm about to say farewell. Hope you have an awesome, awesome week. Next Monday night, it's Elon Werner of Werner Communications, a great PR firm for drag racing, but also the guy that put together that NHRA bracket bonanza. And bracket means like March meet brackets. It doesn't mean like bracket racing. So you're picking who you think's going to win, and we see if you win. And we're going to find out all about that because I've seen a lot about it, but I haven't participated in it. So, folks, have an awesome, awesome week. Looking for my farewell button here tonight. On behalf of the entire staff here at Drag Racing Live, I'm Bill Pratt, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.